Hello everyone, welcome to Kahanya Pod. We all like renovation and the fresh new feel it brings along. But exactly should be the renovation and what does renovation really mean? Let's understand it in today's story.
Once upon a time, there was a king who wanted to renovate his favorite temple in the capital of the kingdom. Now, it was an ancient temple. So, he called upon his ministers and asked them that you get the right people to do the job. So, there are many groups who came forward for this, looking for the prestigious project which is close to which was close to king's heart. So the minister met all of them and they liked just two groups out of them, and the rest were asked to leave. However, they were not able to decide which group should be given the job of temple renovation. So they brought them to the king and said, Your Majesty, we are unable to decide who should get the job. Both claim to be equally good and expert in their areas, and both say that they can do the job really, really well. So the king said, Okay, let me talk to them and take a final call. So the first group was of monks. The monk said, Your Highness, Your Majesty, nobody cares about the temple like we do. We will bring its lost glory back. We request you to give us a chance and you will see our dedication. The second group was of royal artisans, and they said, Your Honor, Your Majesty, nobody can do it better than us. We are professionals, and for decades and decades together, we have been doing the job of renovation. So, I would request you to honor us by giving this project and see the result for yourself. The king was deeply concerned and he thought, the ministers was actually right. It is difficult to decide between which two groups should get the job. So he thought, and then he said, Okay, this comes to my mind that there are two ancient temples. There are two ancient temples similar to like this one, but much smaller in size, to the south of my palace. So he commanded his ministers that take them there and give them, each one temple to renovate. So both the temples were at extreme end in the south of the palace. So both groups got one temple each, and all the necessary supplies were given to them. And the king had ordered that after completion of 7 working days, I myself will come and review, and based only upon the merit of the work done, will the project of the main temple, the ancient temple, be awarded. So they started their work. 1 week passed, and the king went there along with his most trusted ministers. He first went to the artisan's temple and he was just amazed. It looked beautiful. They had repainted all the walls and the ceilings of the temple, which gave it a fresh new look. And the artisans were very smart to have chosen bright colors which commands attention and which makes it more splendid. Inside the temple, the king saw that all the furniture was newly made. The entire thing made it look spectacular. King was highly impressed. He told the group, This is just too good. This is beyond my expectation. And now I understand when you say that you are best at what you do, what is it that you mean? I'm really, really happy. Now, hearing such praises from the king, they were ecstatic. They started looking at each other, and it conveyed that, it meant nothing but a guarantee to get the job of renovating the ancient temple. Now, as the king inspected this temple and started moving towards Monk's temple, he was still very much impressed by this, and he was discussing with his ministers that it will be difficult. It will be difficult for monks to match up to them, to their level of skill and professionalism and finishing. But let's see. We have to anyways inspect both the temples. So they were moving towards the temple, and when the monk's temple came to their view, this is something that they had not expected. They had not repainted the walls at all. Rather, they had meticulously cleaned all the walls with great detail so that the real color that was there on the walls showed up. It was a beautiful scene, as if the temple was back to its original beautiful image. So the king was happy to see that. As they walked into the temple, they saw that the furniture had a perfect finishing. The doors and windows were open. The radiation of the sunset was illuminating everything as they were part of the temple. From there, they could see the trees swaying in wind, the clouds floating in the sky. Everything came as together, just like a picture is coming to life. It did not command any attention. It was not trying to draw attention. Rather, it conveyed a very peaceful feeling, devoid of any pomp and show. The emperor was just taken aback. He was deeply moved. He looked around at his ministers and saw the same expressions. No further word were needed. It was clear what the emperor's final decision was. So basically, these two groups presents two thoughts. One is external appearance, one is internal essence. So external appearance versus internal essence. Often we come across people who are more focused on external appearance in terms of a dashing personality, so that they come across, as perfect, as very smart. Whereas internal essence is more about going within and hearing your inner voice. The artisan group was more focused on their professionalism, how well they did the job, and to get all the accolades. So basically, it was all about themselves rather than the temple. Whereas the monks' complete focus was on reviving the temple, reviving its ancient glory. So basically, if we see, the artisans group used the paint, which is more of an external thing, whereas the monks, right, their focus was more on internal essence. Now, this paint represents the tremendous focus and the tremendous resources that human beings, use to cover up their external appearances and to hide the problems. But is this the right approach? Perhaps not. because hiding the problems really doesn't help. It doesn't solve the underlying issue at all. In fact, it can make things worse. To give you an example, let's take a plank of wood, which can be rotten from within, right? But let's say if we give a good coat of paint very professionally, very smartly, it might still appear as very beautiful and solid, but it is actually damaged inside. And let's say if you were to put some weight on that plank or somebody were to sit on this, it can even break, damaging the stuff or the person sitting on it. Isn't it? So the internal essence is more about cleansing as well as getting rid of the excesses. More attachments we accumulate, more is the need of cleansing. So let's say if mental baggage is more, then we need to unlearn. If emotional dependencies are high, we need to let them go. And let's say if we have possessions that clutter, then we need to give them away. This is the path to inner cleansing and getting rid of excesses. Now, we need to think, have we been applying too much of paint in our lives to clear up the smears and smudges? If so, it's time to change the approach.
I hope you all liked this story and more importantly the essence of renovation. Don't forget to click on the bell icon for subscribing. We'll be waiting for your comments.